Curious how you could help improve the health and well-being of your staff? Get insights, cost savings opportunities, and disease prevention at your fingertips with Springbuck Health Data Analytics. Learn more at springbuck.com.
Mom and I take on some of the nastiest houses you've ever seen. We're not afraid to tackle the worst of the worst.
That is so gross.
Holy cow. Then we turn those rundown houses into some of the nicest homes in the neighborhood.
Brick by brick, from the top, brick by brick, don't you stop.
A Hoosier mother-daughter duo rebuilding homes in front of 2 million TV viewers each week, putting historic Indianapolis near South Side neighborhoods on the map.
Garfield Park is my favorite park in the whole city.
Just south of downtown, the Garfield Park neighborhood is really in transition. Home prices are lower than nearby neighborhoods like Bates Hendricks and Fountain Square, and recently become home to a lot of local artists.
Mina Starziak-Hawk and her mother, Karen E Laine, fell in love with remodeling homes long before they became stars on HGTV's Good Bones. Started in 2007 when they launched their renovation business, Two Chicks and a Hammer.
And I think I would paint the porch a different color than blood.
Yes.
I'm sure someone liked this color, but to me it just looks like dried blood. That's what it looks like.
Looks like slightly oxidized blood.
Yeah, it's a crime scene that has not been cleaned.
That house that may have reminded Karen E Laine of her previous life, practicing law. So how did this Indianapolis mother and daughter wind up delivering moments like this on national TV?
Wow. Girls, look at you. Right? Gosh, this is great. This is great.
Get to know this dynamic duo putting Indianapolis neighborhoods in the national spotlight on this episode of the Business and Beyond podcast. Hello and welcome to the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. I'm Gary Dick. Karen E Laine and Mina Starziak-Hawk's path to a hugely popular TV show didn't start with a drill and a hammer. For Karen, it started in law. She practiced as a defense attorney and also served as a Marion County prosecutor. For Mina, she graduated from IU in 2007 and took a job shortly after that as a waitress. Mina bought her first home right out of IU with the help of her mom. The place needed a lot of help, so they rolled up their sleeves, fixed it up, and discovered their passion for bringing old homes back to life. They loved it so much they established their own renovation company, Two Chicks and a Hammer. That caught the eye of HGTV, and by 2015, the duo had hit the airwaves, showcasing their talent for turning near South Side historic homes into gems. HGTV changed the name of the series to Good Bones in 2016, and it is still going strong. One of HGTV's most popular shows, recently renewed for a 7th season. And I'm pleased to be joined on the Business and Beyond podcast by the mother part of this duo, Karen E Laine. Karen, thanks for joining me on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Well, listen, you are so busy with the show and being a TV star, you're not busy enough. You're getting a master's degree, right? So you were a little late for the podcast because you've been really busy getting a master's degree.
Yes, sometimes. So I really like learning, and sometimes I get very invested in a project and I lose track of time. And I apologize that happened.
Well, tell me about the master's degree. What are you pursuing?
I'm getting my master's in divinity. I felt a call. It's probably been 30 years ago now. I'm a Catholic, and I felt the call to be a priest. And I talked to our priest, and he said, sorry, women can't be priests.
Right.
And you know what? When you feel a call, I don't know if you're a believer, but God does this to me. He just keeps knocking me upside the head with the 2x4 until I listen. And he said, this is what I called you to do. Do it. So I got commissioned as a minister, but it's not the same. I would like to be ordained. And I feel like if I keep trying, eventually I will be a Catholic priest. That's what
I was going to ask you, do you think the church will ever relax that standard and allow women priests?
it is my understanding that it has happened historically in times of need. And I believe we are now in a time of need. The Catholic Church does not have enough priests to do the job that it wants to do. And I think the reason for male priests is historical, not doctrinal. And I feel like we have a pope who might be able to see that and start working towards change.
Well, you are a woman, obviously, of many, many talents and interests, including this renovation business. Take us back, if you would, in terms of how this whole TV thing started. You had your renovation company, you and your daughter, right? How did you get discovered?
Discovering us, I think, was an accident. A very nice lady named Tina Seiler, who works at our production company, High Noon Entertainment, was looking for some talent she had worked with before. She was doing a Facebook search, and she found us instead. It's funny because she was looking for some lesbian contractors, and we are not lesbian contractors. We do have a close personal relationship, but not that kind. And they thought the Facebook page was interesting enough that we had a Skype interview with them. And this is funny because Mina had an emotionally difficult day, rolled into the 4 p.m. interview, opened a bottle of wine, and drank it during the hour-long interview. I helped a little, not going to lie. I had a few sips of that wine, but I think she's more interesting after a bottle of wine. I think that's the moral of that story. And then we did a sizzle, which we did ourselves, and they liked the sizzle, and HGTV said, do a pilot, and we did the pilot, and they liked the pilot, and they said, do a season 1. And through the entire process, I feel like my expectations were very well managed because we were told at each step, there will never be another step.
Right.
And so I still don't think there's a TV show. I don't.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because people always, after you've created something very successful, people say, hey, in the beginning, did you think it would end up this way? Did you, it sounds like you were really managing those expectations, kind of keeping them in check in the early days, right?
Oh, absolutely. And they are still managed, still 100% managed. I have no expectations.
What is life like now for you? Because you just don't have a TV show. This is very successful. You've got a lot of eyeballs on your show every single week, and you've really created something heading in next year, I guess, to your 7th season with some staying power. What has that changed your life?
The big change in my life is I'm no longer the weirdo who goes up to complete strangers and starts conversations. Everyone else does it to me, and they think they're the weirdo or the stalker. I'm like, no. You're just saving me a lot of work. Thank you. So our fans are so nice. We really have the nicest fans. They're just down to earth and genuine, and they're just nice.
Yeah. Well, obviously you've got a real interest in doing these demos, these renovations. So where does that history come from between you and your daughter in terms of rehabbing homes? That's not not everyone enjoys that task. That's a big job, takes a certain mindset. Where did that come from?
The rehabbing started because Mina wanted to do something grown up when she graduated from college, but she didn't want to wear a suit and go to work. So she bought a house that she could afford. And I co-signed for her because she was a server without W-2 income. And I had W-2 income. So I co-signed the loan, and we rehabbed the house, and we discovered a talent and a skill and a joy in rehabbing. We had a lot of fun on the first house, and we decided to do it again and again. And at some point, Mina said, I think we have a business. And she came up with a name, and we had a little Facebook page, and we had checks, and I kind of want to pull out the sweatshirt with our original logo that I still have because it's a little pornographic, which we didn't realize. We had to change the logo when my son pointed out, you've got one little chick here and you got one little chick here and you got a hammer in between them. What were you girls thinking?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
And I think rehabbing speaks to my passion to make the world a better place. And it speaks to Mina's skill set. She is amazing with imagining a floor plan. Her spatial sense is fantastic. And so, I bring all the oh, the way out there, creative ideas that she has the ability to rein in and say, well, we can't do that, but how about if we take that idea and do this? So I'm sad all the time because all my crazy creative ideas get told no to. But I think they inform the decisions in a way. So we don't look at things as problems. We look at them as opportunities. And she's also very good with pinching a penny until it screams. Very good.
It's all these homes, South Side, right? So it's like Fountain Square, Bates Hendricks, South Side neighborhoods, correct?
Yes.
Why South Side?
When I was still practicing law, I discovered that I didn't have to have a commercial property for a law office. You're allowed to have a law office in your home. It doesn't have to be commercial. Also, taxidermy, dentistry, and some other weird things. You don't need to be in a commercial property. So I thought, what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a little house that's walking distance from the city county building, and that's where I'm going to have my law office. So I drew some circles on a map to find neighborhoods where I could buy a house. And Fountain Square was within the circle, was walking distance, and it was affordable. So I bought a house in Fountain Square, and I fell in love with the people in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then when we started rehabbing houses, I said, this is where I want to do it because I love this neighborhood.
So tell me, how much for one episode or one home renovation? Talk about the work that's involved in taping that from start to finish. How long does it take to do that?
From start to finish, so we film 13 episodes at a time. And the way we do it, it's kind of like dominoes. You set up 13 dominoes.
Okay.
And you do demo on the first house. And when the demo is done, then the next crew comes in, the framing crew. And then you do demo on the second house and the dominoes start to fall. If that makes sense, if that analogy makes sense. And so then you do demo on the third house and the fourth house all the way till you're at the 13th. And then at the end of that process, they get all out of order. House one is not done first because house one has its own unique set of problems.
Okay.
So some houses take the entire year to film because the number of problems is greater than we would like it to be. Other houses get finished in 3 to 4 months. So there's an average of 6 months for each house to take to be filmed, but it's an average.
I know I'm sure you've been asked this 10,000 times, but what's the secret to success? Because, a home renovation show, I mean, the idea per se isn't necessarily unique. There are other kinds of shows like that. But yours, obviously, you have found something that really strikes a chord with people and is interesting to people. In your view, what is it that makes your show a success?
It's not my view because I'm a litigator. I always ask my jurors what they thought. So I ask the viewers. We have an Airbnb in our home and in our carriage house. And so I always ask fans when I meet them in the Airbnb or out in the world, they'll say, oh, you're my favorite show. I'll say, what is it that you like about the show? And one of the most frequent answers I get is people love this city. They absolutely love what our crew does to show how beautiful Indianapolis is. And they say, I didn't even know. And they come to Indianapolis to visit and they discover we have music and we have art and we have amazing food and we have the nicest people you're ever going to meet. We're Midwesterners. That's what we got is nice. The other thing people love is watching the demolition and Tad's shenanigans. People love that. They love the reveal where we have taken something that was burned down and full of feces and trash and whatever. And now it's a home where someone can live and their family can grow and thrive. And it can be part of a neighborhood instead of just being this dump for refuse and, sometimes human refuse, which is really sad, really sad. Yeah. So I think people like the transformational aspect of the show. They see themselves as being able to, I can be transformational in whatever my way is. And I think that really resonates with people.
You mentioned something that has struck me about your show as well, and that's that showcasing of Indianapolis. I've felt from day one that you've been very intentional and you want to showcase Indianapolis to a national audience. You want to show people the kind of community Indianapolis is. Is that an accurate assessment?
Absolutely. Indianapolis, I wasn't born here, but Indianapolis took me in and said, this is your home, Karen. All my children were born here. I don't want to move from Indianapolis. It has been so good to me. It's such a great place to raise kids. And it's such a great place for a creative person. And I don't care what your medium is. I don't care if it's food or music or visual or whatever. Just everybody's welcome here. Let's be nice to each other. Let's go live in Indianapolis where everybody's nice.
Yeah. Do you think that is breaking down some stereotypes maybe about Indianapolis or the Midwest in general being a welcoming place for everybody, that your show is maybe helping to do that a little bit?
I hope the show is doing for other people regarding Indianapolis what Indianapolis did for me. I grew up in the East Coast. And when I came to Indianapolis, I was amazed at how open and helpful people are. If you're in New York City and you're blocking traffic, someone might shoot you. If you're in Indianapolis and you're blocking traffic, someone's going to get out of their car, come up to you and say, "Are you lost? Can I help you? Are you having a bad day? What can I do for you?"
Yeah.
And that's the difference, is there's this, I think it's the open space that just makes people open.
Yeah. Yeah. When you started on this, were there naysayers? Were there critics? There's critics of everything, but because you're women in the construction business, did you have to deal with any of that stuff?
I can think of one story. We had a lunch meeting with a gentleman, and I have never met a misogynist of his scale, never. And we kind of looked around at each other. It was myself, Mina, and Alexa. It's a complicated relationship. She's family. And we felt like maybe we were being punked. We were actually on camera, and this was a joke to see how we were going to act.
It was that bad. Oh, gosh.
It was that bad. I can't tell the story on this podcast. I really can't, because it was that bad. But in general, what I find is even people who think, women can't do this,
right,
eventually recognize, but they're doing it. And to some extent, and they don't care that we think they can't. Because that's not what drives me. Someone else's idea of my skill set should not be what drives me. My actual abilities to do the thing or learn how to do the thing are what drive me.
Okay. We're going to have much more with Karen E Laine from Good Bones, co-star of the Good Bones, the wildly successful television show, coming up after a break. We're going to find out how an attorney turned home renovator, if you will, and a lot more. That's when the Business and Beyond podcast continues.
Imagine a world where every healthcare and benefits program decision is backed and guided by data. Springbuck is the health data analytics solution that equips you with the insights and expertise you need to sharpen your benefits strategy, advance employee health, and contain costs. Springbuck, a world of actionable health intelligence insight at your fingertips. Visit springbuck.com to learn more.
Welcome back to the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. My guest this week is one half of the mother-daughter duo, Good Bones, the wildly successful television show, Karen E Laine. Karen, you mentioned in the first half of the podcast, you did not grow up here, grew up on the East Coast. Whereabouts out on the East Coast? And tell me a little bit about your childhood.
Okay. I was born in Orlando, Florida. And when I was very young, a couple years old, my parents moved to Newtown, Connecticut, now famous for the Sandy Hook shootings.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
I mean, we should have seen that coming, right? They're around a little tight out there. I was raised in what I think of as a pretty traditional household. My dad went to work. My mom stayed home. We lived on 7 acres of property that was surrounded by rocky hillsides and trees and creeks and streams. And for the first, I don't know how many years, there really wasn't anyone close by. We were very, very rural. I have 3 siblings, an older sister and 2 younger ones. We had a dog, Popo, for many, many, many years. We tried a goat. That didn't work. We were too young to be responsible. I think by the time I went to college, my younger sister had chickens that sort of persisted around the house. And my mom and dad were both gardeners. My dad was a vegetable gardener. My mom was a flower gardener, and we gardened all 7 of those acres. What else? What else is interesting that formed me as a child? My mother is very creative. She taught me how to sew. She is a juried flower show judge. She started the junior garden club in our town. So we all got to be, what do you call it? The members who start the club.
Founders?
Founders. We were founding members of the junior garden club.
Wow.
That's where I learned to take minutes because I was the secretary.
Okay.
And my mother explained to me that who, what, where, when, and how, the answer needs to be more than one word.
Aha. Yeah, that's good.
She wrote that down, and I said, who, us, when, 2 o'clock, where, kitchen, whatever. No. That's just your outline. You need to fill it in. And my dad was also very creative in more of an intellectual and engineering way. He was an electrical engineer, very, very, very smart. And so we were encouraged to read. It's odd to be on TV because I think my dad must be rolling over in his grave. If we were watching TV, he would say, what are you doing in front of the boob tube?
Yeah, the idiot box, the boob tube. Yeah, right.
Exactly. So my hope is that he's not upset with what we're doing, because some of the feedback I get is we are inspiring, we are encouraging, and at the very least, for some people, we're a respite from a tough world. Like sometimes you just need a break in your day because it's been hard.
Yeah, totally agree. So you planted things, you watched things grow, analytical mind, kind of combine those things, and you pursued a law degree, right? So where'd you go to college, and how about your interest, your love, I guess, at some point, maybe in the law?
I still love the law, and I'm still licensed and technically practicing. I don't take cases that require going to court, mostly just help friends who need legal advice. So I went to college at a number of places because being a grown-up is not all that it's cracked up to be. And you should just do what you want to do. But I did graduate from Indiana Wesleyan University with a business degree, and then took my LSAT, did well enough, went to what's now IU McKinney Law here in Indianapolis, and got a clerkship while I was there with a really, really fantastic man, Lou Cohen, who is now passed. And he taught me a lot about life and law. And then I met Scott Newman, the newly elected prosecutor. I saw him give a speech, and I was so impressed with him. I met him after the speech and said, I really want to work for you. And he hired me.
Wow.
Which was,
yeah.
He hired me. So I loved working as a prosecutor. I also loved working as a defense attorney. And I think all prosecutors and defense attorneys, whether they're public defenders or not, should work on both sides. Because I got lucky as a young prosecutor that a defense attorney took the time to school me. And I learned something from him that a lot of prosecutors don't learn, which is we're not always right. And the people we're talking to are not always telling us the truth. And we need to be aware of that and kind of use the scientific method, the null hypothesis, to approach our cases and make sure that we've looked at every aspect of them. And that served me well. People say, how do you switch horses from prosecution to defense? And the system relies, you can tell I love this. I'm on my soapbox.
Yeah, right.
The system relies on 3 pillars: good judges, good prosecutors, and good defense attorneys. Because without all 3, the system falls apart. The much beloved elderly defense attorney who was practicing long after he should have been, and being the prosecutor and the defense attorney is too hard a job. I need that person there to make sure I stay in my lane, and he needs me there, or she, to make sure they stay in their lane. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. What I should have asked you this before. What brought you to Indianapolis, and when did you actually come to Indiana?
My first husband. He moved to Indianapolis to start his medical practice, and I said, I got to Ohio by following a boy who didn't marry me, and I'm not going anywhere else. Not doing it. You want to marry me? Okay. Otherwise, I'm staying here. And he married me. So we came to Indianapolis together.
Very good. Okay. So you're an attorney, prosecuting attorney, defense work as well. When this whole Good Bones or Two Chicks and a Hammer thing started out, did you think it was going to become like a full-time thing, or what was the thought process there? Were you still practicing law at that point when you started the renovation company?
When we started doing renovations, Mina was still working as a server and I was still working as an attorney. And it was 2008. We started in 2007. And in 2008, the bottom fell out of the real estate market.
Right.
And we were lucky because we had no loans. No one would give us money. So we just kept chugging away at a very slow pace. And I didn't see us growing beyond 2 to 4 houses a year. That seemed what we could do. My oldest son, who is so smart, kept saying, no, you can grow, you can grow, you can grow. And then TV came along and we had to grow.
Right.
And I thought it was funny that this very smart person who had been trying to help us grow for years, and we had been ignoring him, and suddenly we had to grow. I thought that was funny. He didn't think it was funny. He thought we should have listened to him. And he's right. We should have. He's very smart. But for some reason, I had a legal career. I didn't need the company to grow. I loved being a litigator.
And what this has become, though, the show itself, but spinoffs. You've still got a furniture decor shop. Is that right?
So I retired from the company 2 Chicks and a Hammer 2 years ago.
Okay.
And 2 Chicks and a Hammer has a retail store called District Co. I have a retail shop called Karen's Corner, which I opened, earlier this year. I can't remember the first day it was open. And it's more like a pop-up shop. Yeah. It doesn't have regular hours. You have to follow me on social media to know when it's open. Because I can only work there when I'm not working on my divinity degree and I'm not filming. And I'm not hiring an employee because I'm too cheap.
When do you sleep doing all that stuff? I mean, you are busy.
Well, my husband will tell you I sleep at 7:30 p.m. That's my bedtime. And usually that's true. I'm in bed early and I read through my news feed and maybe do the crossword puzzle. And then I must go to sleep listening to some audiobook that I want to read during the day, but don't have time. And I'll listen to 5 minutes of it and then I'm out and I have to back it up the next day and get back to where I was.
Good. Do you still do appearances? I know you and Mina, I remember personally, because I was an MC for a deal in, I think it was Muncie. Their Chamber of Commerce had a big deal, and you two were great entertainment there. Do you still do public appearances?
Absolutely. My first love is litigation, and a public appearance is sort of like a jury trial. And I love an audience. Yeah.
As you think about it, is there a next, or do you just go season to season? Do you think bigger picture about what's ahead or what's next?
Well, because Mina now owns the company, she's thinking bigger picture for 2 Chicks and a Hammer. I'm what we call retired, and I'm one of those people who doesn't know how to retire, thus the divinity degree and the little retail shop. And so my trajectory is a little different from hers. I would like to move more towards philanthropy, trying to give back more to the community that has benefited me so well. I've actually thought a little bit about public office, but that would really not be retired. Really.
Yeah. Well, what do you think of public? What would you run for?
I would like to run for prosecutor. I've talked to, I think I always had a good relationship with police and law enforcement and corrections and public defender agency and the local defense council. And it calls to me. Yeah.
Well, that will definitely be one to watch. Back to the TV thing, and people who aren't in it don't understand, I don't think, how difficult it is, especially on a national scale, to create something and then to have it be successful and to grow it and that kind of thing. How challenging from your standpoint has that been? Again, dealing with a big national entity and solving or satisfying all the people you got to solve there. How challenging is it to create a successful show like yours?
Well, we have been very, very, very lucky because HGTV is a fantastic place to call home. And our production company, High Noon, is incredibly talented. And we are surrounded not just by smart, talented people, but they're good people. They care about making a quality product and emphasizing what's good and what's uplifting. So that makes it so much easier. And they are also extremely creative. So were I ever to run out of ideas, which I think is impossible, I have no doubt that the production team, and they've actually done this to me, they've suggested things to me that I haven't thought of. And I get really excited about what I think is a really good idea. And then I put wallpaper on a ceiling and I realized they tricked me. That's a terrible idea. What was I thinking? Nearly impossible to do. It looks terrible. No, don't do that.
Oh, that's great. Hey, any hints or sneak peek at what we can expect in season 7?
Well, as always, we have really awful houses, but in season 7, we have one amazing house. And I think when the viewers see the before, they will think, these girls have lost their minds. They are out of their league. And what are they doing? That's a surprise for season 7. People will be confused.
That is a great tease as we look ahead to season 7. Karen E Laine, it's been a real pleasure chatting with you today. Thanks for taking the time of your really busy schedule. Congratulations, too, on the success and all you do to promote Indianapolis as well, because it's very important. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Gary.
Okay. And thank you for joining us on this edition of the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. It's a weekly conversation with achievers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. And you can check out all of the episodes and get Indiana business news 24/7 at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. I'm Gary Dick. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.